Hi guys, welcome to another video on gun accuracy. Today we're going to be discussing shooting lines or gun lines. That's the line between the spear and the gun. These lines are often overlooked, how important they are, and for obvious reasons can cause a heap of drag if they're not set up correctly. One of the more common problems is muzzle wrap. We do have a video on this. It's quite easy to understand what's going wrong. There are issues with it for obvious reasons and very visual. After you're shot, you can see the line entangled with the muzzle. Another problem with the type of muzzle wrap is on rollers. These are much less noticeable because the line gets dragged into the roller just for a short period of time, and the mass of the spear drags that line out. So you don't even know it's happened. It happens so fast. We've done pull tests on this showing this happening at times. A lot of this is about the setup, especially about the speed of the spear. If you try and overload the spear and shoot it too fast, it's much more likely to occur. There's a lot more vortices that occur around that muzzle and more likely to suck that line into the muzzle. The other problem is slack lines. A lot of videos I see the guys are swinging the gun and that shooting line between the back of the spear and the muzzle is very slack. That slackness allows it to be dragged into the muzzle much easier. You won't even notice it's happened. Some guys feel a secondary jerk. So the original jerk is when the line is pulled out from the roller, and the second jerk is when the spear gets to the end of its range. When that happens, it can shoot completely off. You might shoot 2 or 3 fish thereafter, spot on, and then you miss again and you don't know why. So be aware of muzzle wraps both on non-roller and rollers. Another issue that sometimes occurs when rigging the gun, you could have had the line wrapped under the spear. If this line is under the spear, it interferes with the spear and the rail. This will arc the spear upwards, causing it to shoot low. The moment you pull the trigger, that spear will shoot low. The next time you load, it shoots perfectly straight because the line wasn't under. Few loads later, you may inadvertently load with the line under the spear and again hogs it up, shoots low. In terms of line types, there's basically 3. The generic El Cheapo is a polyester woven braid. Then there's also a woven Dyneema, and then of course the single mono nylon. The polyester braid is generally a soft weave. This absorbs moisture and creates quite a lot of mass. When you fire that gun, you're dragging all that moisture with you, therefore creating more mass that the spear has to drag around. If you compare that to mono, if you had 2 guns set up identical, hold one in each hand, fire the polyester braid, and then fire the mono, you will notice a much stronger jerk at the end of your range. That's because that spear was able to travel faster. The drag of the polyester slows the spear down quite significantly. You can overcome this by putting more rubber on it. Not necessarily a good idea. Dyneema is a bit of both worlds. It is a braid, it is wound, woven, but we have it woven extremely tight, so the absorption of water is very low. We also go slightly smaller diameter. We're about 1.8, 1.9 in the diameter, and we match that with a 2mm mono. Those are equally fast in the water, but the Dyneema is significantly stronger. Another factor to consider is the diameter of the line. Obviously, the thicker the line, the more the drag, the thinner the line, the less the drag. The advantage of the thicker line is it is more significant and you can control it better. A soft woven line is actually quite awkward. It floats around all around you, can be dangerous. Dyneema is a little bit on that side, although the stiffer one is better than polyester lines. Mono, being stiffer, is much easier to handle. But if you went with a thin Dyneema, it will be just as soft and fluffy, but it'll be faster. For instance, guys are using 1.5 Dyneema, extremely fast in the water, but more awkward to handle. The other extreme, if it's too thick, it's going to slow the spear down, but it is easier to handle. Pros and cons. For obvious reasons, diameter also relates to strength. The thinner the line, the weaker it is. The thicker, the stronger. The thinner, more likely to get cut off on reef. The thicker, less likely. So again, many pros and cons. The next area of concern with shooting lines is how they're attached to the gun. A great big knot will create more drag. A knot that is such that the loop can't fold over the back of the spear can create more resistance. Some guys like to attach to a fin on a spear. That can have an effect on how that spear travels through the water. So all these small nuances can make a huge difference to how that spear flies through the water. So there you have it, lines on spear guns. Hope you enjoyed that video. Stand by for the next.